Welcome everybody to the top 25 non-Galactic Legend ranking for SWGOH as of March 2025. I do this every few months. This is only my opinion. I don't have anyone else weigh in on it. And sometimes a character might have changed too much since the last time I ranked, but just how I've evaluated them performing. Maybe I've been able to use them more. Maybe I've seen them do a lot other things, seen them do other counters. But things can just change even without it specifically changing in the game. Say a new great character comes in and an older character is great against them, that might raise the older character standing. I'm trying to consider the game as a whole, but I do have a hierarchy in my mind of importance for game modes. Like Grand Arena is probably the best. Conquest is in there somewhere. TB is on the lower end. Territory War is important, but not as important as GAC. But if a character is terrible in everything else except Grand Arena, for example, SWGOH or Press, they don't get a mention. But if they're awesome in Grand Arena and decent everywhere else, they might still get a spot. So to start, who is out from last time? I've had it on the screen here for a while, but Dr. Aphra and Watt just aren't really doing it for me. Aphra, I feel like I had in the top 25 for the longest time out of pity because she's a newer legendary and she just doesn't seem to hold her own quite as much. I think a big problem is that they only gave her 5v5 Omicrons, and then her droids have 3v3 Omicrons, really limiting the impact. If they all were just applicable in every game mode, in every version of GAC, it might be better. And then Watt, I mean, it's a long time coming. He is not what he used to be. The tank tech is valuable, but he just is not like an amazing add to anything anymore. I mean, I use him. I feel better using him on the trench team than I ever had before. And even as a set eternal lifter, it's not like that groundbreaking. So those are who are out. Now let's look at 21 through 25. And we got from bottom to top, CLS, Jedi Revan, Captain Rex, Luthen, and Traya. So Luthen is a new addition to this list, but he was a character last time I did the review. And he was like the #1 complaint in the comments. And I took to it, and I've been evaluating over the past few months. I do think he deserves to be on this list. What I would argue and retort back to the commenters, I think kind of holds. Without a special datacron to help him, he's not like a huge GL killer, which is what people were saying back when he had his own specific datacron. But he is very good. He makes a Saw team really difficult to handle. You have to have a specific thing in place, usually one of the better characters on this list to handle him. But he's great. And Captain Rex, falling a little bit just because of new additions further up the list. But still great. One of the best marquees out there. I mean, so flexible. All the tags, all the debuffs, the boosts with clones or Phoenix. Even if you just want to abandon his primary purpose as a Phoenix or clone trooper member and you put him with Rebel fighters like Luthen or on a Galactic Legend Leia team, he's still awesome. Jedi Revan and CLS. I feel like we're getting close to the end of an era. These are classic Hero's Journey legendaries that were kind of cornerstone characters that you chase before Galactic Legends were a thing, or all these epic confrontations before Conquest, but they're just getting a little bit outclassed by a lot of the power creep. I still think they're super valuable on a new account, extremely valuable, not Chirotech characters, which is rare for this whole list. Just a lot of utility from both of them, Terminator manipulation, just great leaders for the team. Jedi Revan gets a little bit of a nod over CLS because he's flexible with the Jedi tag and Jedi faction. He's kind of like just a supporting unit now. He's not usually used as a leader anymore at the end game, but early game's super valuable too. And then Traya is at the top of this, and she's really only amazing in GAC. Everything else she does have some value. I mean, Isolate does have value, but in GAC she is just so strong. She just demands a Galactic Legend basically on defense. Like there's barely anything that can beat that team other than Galactic Legends. So she does get a little bit of clout from that. So, but still falling out of the top 20 and the top 25. Who knows how long she'll be here? But that is 21 through 25. Now 16 through 20, and this looks a lot like the 6 through 10 of yesteryear. We got a few old staples taking a tumble. Jedi Luke. So Jedi Luke is fantastic, but I'm trying to let go of the rose-colored glasses I have for him. Look at his straight-up value. He is incredibly valuable as a Jedi, and in PvE, his lead is indispensable for both the assault battle or territory battle. Slowing everyone down is super valuable. I think the AoE stun is awesome. He's got great health and protection pool, tons of damage, true damage against tanks. a lot of great things about him, but he is not carrying a team on his own really anymore at the top. Even 3v3, it's hard to justify him being the cornerstone of a team without other like hardcore legitimate support from characters that may be better than him. But he's still really good, so I gave him 20. I dumped him down below Dark Trooper Moff Gideon because Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, even though he doesn't have GAC Omicrons, and his special place is in TW, he is just so good across the board. I mean, the mechanics of punishing turn meter, and for his whole team, I mean, he's the representative of his team, and his team obviously makes him a lot better. But just does a lot of things that are pretty unique, and I think he's always going to have a place. So I left him as is, even though there's like a bunch of new additions above him that leapfrogged him or are new characters. And Darth Revan and Malak, they kind of are together a lot, falling at 3 places each from last time. Malak getting the slight nod over Darth Revan. Back in the end of 2019, probably before Gas came out, these were the top 2 characters in the game. So everything above them is mostly newer. The fear mechanic, irresistible fear, I think is always going to be extremely valuable. We've seen a lot of uses for Darth Revan specifically. I've always argued in theory that his lead is amazing on its own, even without Malgus. And we're seeing that as a Great Mother's counter. And now with Zalbar Omicron in the game, he's a little bit stronger too. So it's pretty nice. And then Malak, you kind of throw him anywhere. Just an amazing Sith. The irresistible fear, the Force strain, just really durable, resilient. He's awesome. Jedi Cal falling a lot, falling 5 spaces, and he kind of like reverse leapfrogged a lot of characters because he's just, I mean, he needs a lot of support. I don't use him that often other than on a Jedi Master Luke team where Jedi Master Luke is obviously the feature and Cal is the supporting character. But the insta-kill is awesome. All his support, his stat boosts from his different stances are great. So he's still number 16, but he's just not like a world beater on his own. But you pair him with some other Jedi like Luke or Jedi Revan, and you really got something there. So that is 16 through 20. And now for the meaty part of the curve for the top 25, we have 11 through 15, Maul, Darkseid Rey, Queen Amidala, Starkiller, and Jar Jar. Darkseid Rey is the only brand new character to this list, and it's always hard to evaluate a lifter unit because she does belong just mainly with Supreme Leader Kylo. She can do a lot of good stuff with Kylo Ren unmasked, but Supreme Leader Kylo was already at kind of the top of the heap. He could do a lot of things on his own. She just makes it more secure and makes him a defensive threat and a high banners threat. So there's a lot of value there. So I put her at 12. I don't know. She'll probably be in a different spot next time I do it. Maybe I got it right at just 12, but I don't know. Really valuable, really good, but kind of a win more character in a lot of situations. Maul, he just continues to come a little bit lower and lower. He's awesome with Lord Vader, but his place as a leader on his own team is kind of waned a lot from how I used to consider him a great threat because he could either be with Lord Vader or do his own thing, but he doesn't do his own thing that much anymore. Still, really threatening. That Lord Vader team with him is so much better than without. Queen Amidala and Jar Jar both kind of are representatives of their team as like the best character or the gel factor on the team. Jar Jar, I think you can argue, goes a little lower as I have him. Because while the Gungans as a team are awesome, they do a lot of stuff without him anyway, and he's just kind of the icing on the cake. But that being said, the death mark, all the frustration, the assist, like everything, he does add so much to make it a true threat and make it a huge pain no matter where you are. TW, TB, Grand Arena, I mean, in TB is not a huge pain, he's a huge help. Super valuable across the board in that TB. All the way up to R8, you can find a good plan for him. And then Queen Amidala, I gave her a boost of 4 just because I'm just realizing more and more how insanely good her whole team is, even outside of their native Grand Arena. In TW, they can beat Rey a lot of the times. They just, and in TW, you really need something extremely strong to deal with them. Yeah, Qui-Gon's going to have his own Omicron for TW, but she is just so good across the board. Qui-Gon, her team is better than like a top 13 character, but since Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan do so much on their own, this is as high as I really wanted to put her. And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, since they're such a tag team, I didn't think I could put them in. Speaking of tag teams, Han and Chewie are no longer in the top 25, so it's really hard to gauge characters that only really work well together but are so strong together. But I think 13 is a fair spot for Queen Amidala, and that is 11 through 15. And now, almost coming to our conclusion, we have 6 through 10, and I think there will be a lot of things that frequent commenters on these ranking videos appreciate. One, massive jump for Ezra Exile. This has got to do with me having more personal experience with him on my own using him, and seeing him just across the board how useful he is outside of his intended team of Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. This guy does so much. He is incredibly annoying to beat. There was a team, Darth Revan, Starkiller, Ezra, that I had to face, and I struggle with JMK Cat because you cannot assist on him. And he gets tons of stacks of resilient defense, which usually isn't a problem, but you can't assist on him. Usually you get a few assists and get it down. But there's so many attacks he's just immune to. He is immune, I think about it this way, he's immune to so much potential damage, because so much potential damage in this game is assisting. That alone is what makes him and Darth Revan super valuable. But he's got dodge mastery. He gives backup plan to his whole Spectre team. He's almost better on Rey than he is on Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. Put him with any other Jedi team, it becomes a nightmare. I put him with Jedi Knight Luke on defense, and it made my opponent have to think, he said, for an hour of how to deal with it. This guy is insane. I don't know if 8 is high enough, but I think a bump of 13 was just plenty good. He doesn't even have to have a specific datacron propping him up. He is just that good. That being said, I forgot to change his highlight to blue, but General Skywalker was a lot higher, has been a lot higher in the past, and everyone always says I overrate him, and I gave him a bit of a bump down. So we'll see if people are happy with that, him being out of the top 5. But I do still consider him better than everyone below him just because of their value. Across the board, GAC TW as a support character as opposed to a 5-1 leader. I can beat Rey and TW. There's tons of S-tier non-GL teams that he handles well in GAC. Sometimes he can beat Great Mothers, has good luck against Queen Amidala. He's a threat on his own, and his theoretical value, I will agree, is higher than his practical value. The reducing max health, the increasing cooldowns. You can't crit when you're attacking out of turn with him. There's so many overall valuable things about him. Great Mothers took a dive of just 2 because I've been able to see their value without the Great Mothers Cron, but I still think they are supremely valuable. Doomed is such a busted mechanic wherever you use it. It's the same in GAC, TW. She doesn't have a GAC Omicron, but still in Grand Arena, her value is paramount. Like, people were choosing to give their super buff stat crons to her team instead of Baylan Skull, who they were intended to, because if you give her more stats, they just completely break the game, basically. But going first, extremely valuable, like a better version of what Han does, because she just negates protection. Super good. Arguably better than Malgus, but Malgus just is, I don't know, more flexible. He's more of a Titan on his own. Lots of damage. I don't know. Maybe I needed Malgus down some, but I felt, because Darth Revan, and Malik used to be a lot closer together, but I kept squeaking people in the margin there. But I think he still stays at 9th. Because he counters a lot. He counters Great Mothers. He's like another one of those teams that counters kind of almost any non-GL team. Super valuable on offense now, where he used to be a defensive stalwart. And then Bo-Katan, she crushes Lord Vader. She crushes most non-GL stuff. Really valuable. She's one of the teams that can handle Ahsoka Tano without Ezra, either solo or with a couple people left. But 6 through 10, I feel pretty good about my 6 through 10. Really valuable. And Gas, yes, finally coming out of the top 5. And now the top 5. Of course, the climax of the video. Not huge changes. Bane, Revak, Commander Ahsoka, Baylan, and Malicos. So Malicos keeping his spot in the top 5, letting Gas reverse leapfrog him out. However, I do feel weird about that because in TW, Malicos is not as good as Gas, but in GAC, he is way better than Gas. So he has less of the overall viability, even though his uniques are still pretty great for UFU teams. But in GAC, he is just transcendently powerful, not just with the damage he does, which is insane, just the support. the savior mechanic, you know, the flipping debuffs into really powerful buffs. Key mechanic, key component in beating Galactic Legend Ray, even with Ezra in a lot of cases, although right now it's not as safe as it was before. Bane, Reva, Cat staying the same. I still think those are pretty easy call for the top 3. Cat just is one of the last super valuable Conquest units that didn't have to have any Omicron, so she is just as good in any game mode. Of course, she's combined with Jedi Master Kenobi for her best value, but she's really good even outside of just Jedi Master Kenobi, just from the stat boost and then the insta-kill potential. But put her on any team, it's really gonna... She's kind of like Ezra, but better, as in she's a lifter for any team. Ezra can be more annoying, but she is really a big threat on any Galactic Republic, Scoundrel, or UFU team. On Reva, when she came out, she was so busted, everyone thought she needed a nerf immediately. She still beats lots of GLs, even without specific Datacron help, but the fact that her tags are Empire, Inquisitor, and UFU, that her whole team is like that, there's almost always a Datacron set applying to them, and that is not something that we need to just glaze over. That's really important. But of course, Bane is the best character in the game. I mean, he's better than most GLs. Like, so if this was a ranking of all characters, I'd probably put him above a couple of GLs, at least Sith Eternal and JML. I failed against Supreme Leader Kylo Darkseid Rey with both JMK and then a mirror. So 2 of the best GL teams in the game. And then Bane beat it. Like, Bane is so good. Who's ever going to dethrone him? I fear for the game when he gets dethroned. And then Balin making a new appearance. I mean, in GAC, he is hard-coded to be like JMK, which is not very common. But he's pretty good in any game mode. Really flexible with his 4th and 5th slots on his team. With the Mercenary tag and the UFU tag, he's going to have a Datacron active a lot of the time, and they're intending to make that happen. But just a really beefy guy. I don't know, maybe I'm overrating him a little bit, but like he's just really good. Like, when I consider my defense and offense, he's kind of in that GL category of like what can beat a GL and what might draw a GL in a lot of cases. But still, he's beat by the likes of Reva, who happens to be above him anyway. And that's it. That's my top 25. I mean, let me know what you think. There's always going to be some disagreement here or there, but I think I covered a lot of the things that have been complained about in the comments, and the things that have been supported, especially Luthen being added and Ezra getting a huge boost. So I do listen. It is my own opinion, but I take into consideration the comments and try to adjust my opinion. Well, anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.